Alright, so today I am going to be talking about my channel brand. Now, YouTube doesn't give you a ton of options in terms of the ways that you can alter the branding. There's really only two, and it's your icon and the banner at the top of your YouTube channel. But I went through a little bit of a process and decided to document it on kind of revamping and altering the logo and sort of banner that I had previously made. And I wanted them to become a more cohesive, more recognizable unit, something that I could bring consistently across platforms and that would just be easily recognizable. So, if joining me on that journey sounds like something you would enjoy, I'm Rory Flint. Feel free to call me Rory. I like to create dope art content and hopefully a chill atmosphere. If you're new around here, hi, hello, how are you? Feel free to let me know in the comments down below. And if you're not new around here, what is up, my dudes? I am stoked to get into this video. Now, I'm not sure that the lighting is the best in this video. I'm still kind of figuring out how to light when I'm editing things and creating things on my iPad because it's not always the best. And it's a little bit difficult to get rid of the glare from my ring light and the natural light sometimes, but then also have enough lighting that the what I'm illustrating doesn't look dull. And so there's a lot of play with that I'm still kind of figuring out. So if you would please bear with me, I would deeply appreciate it. But in regards to what I'm doing on my tablet, I am starting with a sketch that I absolutely loved and I felt like really kind of embodied what I was enjoying and am enjoying in my art right now, which was a little bear with some wild growth on his back. And while scrolling on Pinterest, I ended up deciding that I first wanted to attempt a more graphic sort of vector art feel to my banner and my icon, just to see if I would like something that had a little bit more to do with my background and where I came from and what I've learned in school. And while I actually do end up loving the small icon and even really like the banner, I felt like, number one, they were a little bit too redundant. I want it to be recognizable across platforms, but I do not want them to be identical. And number two, I just felt like my channel isn't a design channel, it's an illustration channel. So I should probably lean more into my illustrative skills and display and show off what I can do with a small icon and a banner in regards to fully illustrating something, not just kind of breaking it down into simplified components and building a sort of vector icon out of this image. Pretty quickly here, that's exactly what I end up doing. I kind of go down that same train of thought I just described to you and I go, well, you know what, I might as well try creating a fun illustrated banner just to see if it's something that I'm capable of and something that I end up liking, because, you know, like iterating and expanding on different ideas is always super helpful in helping you land a, the best idea that you can come up with. There's never a bad idea to explore. You know, when it comes to designing anything and deciding on an illustration or a concept of any sorts, whether it's in design or in illustration or a mix of both, it's really important to explore every idea that you have. Even if it's one that comes up on the top of your head immediately, it's still worth exploring, not necessarily because it's going to be your best concept, but because you need to get some of those more, easily thought of ideas out of your head so you can really get to the nitty-gritty, interesting, more cerebral concepts that will come forth after you have exhausted a lot of the more simple and easy to come up with options. And I'm definitely not going into that deep of a design process here. I'm just kind of taking this as an opportunity to explain a little bit about what I learned in school and a little bit about how you would actually go about going through this process if I wanted to take this design concept and create a poster and apply it to a website, which I would love to eventually be able to do. And if I'm going to expand this brand into more platforms that are not just icons and banners, but much larger, more complex systems of design, then I would definitely have to start going through a much more intensive iterative process to get to a final product that is flexible enough for all of those different uses. But here, I'm just having some fun. I experimented with a more graphic version of the illustration, and I ended up deciding to try and make the banner first and just see what I can do with my illustration skills, despite the fact that they weren't what I solely went to school for. They are what my channel is about, and so I feel like focusing on a more illustrative approach just makes a lot more sense for my brand, even though I do like the graphic bear. I break out a tried and true art book that I have from National Parks, which is a board game that my partner and I totally love playing. I'm not a huge board game person, but this one is simple and fun and non-competitive, really, and I just really enjoy it, and I loved the art in it so much that we actually purchased a poster and the art book because the illustrations in this game are just absolutely fascinating, and they're all so different from each other. I wonder, maybe I'll include like a small flip through of it. I don't think that is like an issue on YouTube. Maybe I won't, just because I don't know, or I'll try and Google it after this voiceover. But if anyone knows about like some of those nitty-gritty copyright things, feel free to kind of educate me in the comments, because I'm not super familiar with if I did like a showing off my art book collection, can like people copyright that I'm like showing off their art in an art book through my video? I don't know. That's some of that stuff that I like really don't want to learn by like trial by fire and figure it out, because I end up getting a copyright claim. That would totally suck. So I would much rather learn and educate from Google or from people who know better. All that being said, I absolutely love that art book, and specifically the cover art is what I was looking at to reference for the illustration that I'm currently working on, and I'm really trying to take some inspiration in the lighting and the intricacies in the trees, and I'm trying to apply it to a horizontal format, so it's something that will be easily recognized and not awkwardly cut off when it is eventually used as my banner. I do return to the more graphic vector logo to see how, I don't know, what else I can do. I return to the logo that I used as inspiration in the first place, which was this pineapple logo, where I just love the simplicity and the idea of like highlighting the more crooked, sketchy lines. So that's what I was kind of going off of, with just a small pop of color and seeing how that kind of worked with this bear with the foliage growing off of his back. And again, it's not that I don't like this version of the logo or the icon. I actually really, really like him. It's just that personally, I feel like if this is a channel about illustration, then my icon and my banner should probably be more illustrative. Or illustrative, however you want to pronounce that. I even throw in a bit of typography, focus on a font, nothing super fancy. This is Procreate, so I'm just kind of using their setup fonts and seeing how I can adjust the kerning, tracking, and leading, even though I don't end up needing to adjust the tracking and leading because it's just on one line of text. But anyways, I end up settling on like a really nice, just on this very slab-like typeface that has many different variant fonts, and not just in sizing, because obviously in Procreate you can rasterize any typeface that you choose and then alter it to whatever size you want to, but it also had a few variations in the types of font, so bold, thin, semi-bold, that kind of thing, and I appreciated that it had that much variation, because when you're using typography and choosing typography for any kind of logo, icon, banner, recognizable design element, I guess. Can you guys tell that I'm thinking a lot about like the words that I'm trying to say? Because I'm like, okay, this is, my time to shine. It's where my school brain is trying to kick in, and I'm trying to sound like I know what the hell I'm doing. So all of that to say that I was fucking around with the font, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do with it. In the end, I land on a very simple, I think very cute little guy, but I want to go back to the illustration and see what I can pull together through that, and see if maybe I can get these two pieces to work together, or what I do end up doing, and I don't believe I have the footage here in the video. I don't know if I do or not. We'll see, I suppose. I forget sometimes what I've actually filmed until I'm doing the voiceover, so you see it as I see it. But yeah, I decide to return to this, see if I can get the two to play well together, and in the end do end up creating a more illustrative illustrative, I don't know why I want to say it the other way, but I guess I kind of do, icon, because I didn't feel like I could make the very graphic elements of the icon that I had kind of created in Procreate work with the very, I don't know, it's textured, I suppose, illustration. There was something that was not pleasant about the juxtaposition between the smooth vector icon and the very textured, rasterized illustration in Procreate. Even though I should clarify that, like, I guess this particular vector-looking icon isn't vector, because everything that you create in Procreate, as far as I'm concerned, as far as I know, I should say, is a rasterized image. So that means that it's pixelated. That's literally all it means. If you zoom super far in, you can see all the little pixels, where a vector image can be altered in size and it will not become blurry or fuzzy. If you've ever, done that in Procreate, even if you take something, shrink it down, and then blow it up really big, it will actually be less crisp and a lot fuzzier and blurrier around the edges. And that's because Procreate is a raster program, I guess is how you would say that. I'm not like the most well-versed in vector and raster. I did, go to a graphic design degree, but it was during COVID, and personally I don't feel that my education was totally the best, but I suppose that's a story for another time. And not to mention the fact that I did not specialize in photography, which kind of plays into what I mentioned about it not being the best, because if I'm getting a graphic design degree, why am I not learning like photography, and why isn't it mandatory? Because obviously, even if you go into just like a basic local magazine, they're gonna need you to be able to create typography that integrates well with photo, not just illustration. And you couldn't like choose either one, or you couldn't like pick both in my degree. You kind of had to choose either one, and it just got complicated and strange, and going to school during the pandemic really impacted my ability to ask questions to advisors and really figure out the best path for me. And in the end, I didn't actually end up choosing the best path for me, which was disappointing to discover as I was phased back into kind of going to school in person after 3 or 4 semesters. So my final 2.5 semesters, going to school during the pandemic was interesting because we were like slowly phased in. So I would say that I was not fully in person until my final 2 semesters, because I was able to complete my schooling in 3 years. And by the time that I could have extended that and chosen to complete a different sort of much larger degree, which is what I would have preferred to do, it was a little bit too late to make those decisions. So in the end, I personally just think it's strange that I didn't learn more about how to use and integrate photography into design work, because I feel like that is a very common and expected practice. But I believe that Procreate just only creates raster images when you're drawing. It's all very pixelized, and when you adjust the sizing, it can become very blurry and fuzzy. Now, what's strange about that is that you can rasterize typography in Procreate. So I don't think that the type inherently is raster. It might be vector type, and then as you choose to alter it in certain ways, you end up having to rasterize it, and Procreate will give you a little notification at the top of your iPad being like, this layer has been rasterized. And what that means is that now you can no longer blow it up and shrink it and not have those pixels make that specific subject blurry or strange. And another point on top of that is that it was really important to know what size I needed to create this, I guess I could just call it an illustration, this sort of illustration for the banner. It was really important for me to know that I was at least in the ballpark of the right size, because I couldn't really shrink it or expand it without potentially altering the illustration in a way that would negatively impact it and make it blurry or fuzzy in places. And despite knowing the measurements and kind of creating the canvas based off of those, it was still too tall, and I thought that was going to be fine because I just wanted you to be able to see the bear as the viewer of my channel. And so I was like, yeah, this, seems to add up for how the banner is going to kind of bisect my illustration. And actually, it wasn't as accurate as I thought it was. I'm not the best with numbers, so that's not surprising. And I did end up having to kind of like fudge it a little bit. And so like on your TV and on your computer on larger screens, I end up taking the illustration, blowing it up in the background, and shrinking my illustration here so that it's kind of has like a background on the illustration. So it's kind of like set at a lower opacity and a slight blur behind the illustration that I've created that is crisp and good and in high quality. And that was because of the sizing issues that I had in terms of my canvas. And so I should have paid a lot closer attention to that. So lesson learned. Definitely, I believe YouTube tells you the sizes that you need for each adjustment you want to make to your branding. So definitely pay attention to that for anybody who's planning on honestly doing anything with illustrations and images that you then need to import in some way and place into something else. You want to make sure that the sizes that you're making are correct, or the sizes that you're making your illustrations or images or whatever you're using, because that can be really important, and you can't always shrink it or blow it up or alter it in a way that's going to be successful. And in this case, I couldn't do that. I had to fuck around with it and just make some calls and make it work, honestly. And if there's one good thing that came out of my degree, I would definitely say that it was creative problem solving. I am very good at it. Or at least I like to say that I'm very good at it and that I can pride myself on that. And that's one good thing that I did get out of my education that I really like and hope to be able to apply to this channel. And coming to the last few minutes of this video, I think I should probably talk a little bit about this illustration. So I decided to change the bear from the one that was in the sketch that I originally imported into Procreate, and I kind of made this one kind of flopping over and laying down on his belly in the middle of some woods. And I was really trying to push my textures and my lighting a little bit. The lighting isn't perfect, but I'm starting to experiment with it, which is really nice. It's much more manageable to experiment with lighting on Procreate, and I'm hoping that as I gain a better understanding on Procreate, I will then be able to go into my traditional media and also start focusing on lighting and have a better understanding of how to build lighting and interesting effects. I think using more opaque mediums like acrylic gouache, colored pencil, and soft pastels will be a huge boon to me in making better art traditionally. My goal is to be able to do something very similar to how I work in Procreate traditionally, so that I can build those textures and go over things and sort of edit layers without having to fear that the illustration or doodle is going to be completely obliterated in any way, you know, that it's unalterable. And I know, trust me, that there's never really going to be a perfect traditional duplicate for Procreate, because you can always just delete layers and start over. And traditionally, you know, once you start piling on a bunch of opaque mediums, it starts kind of changing the textures that you are working with and working over top, and it doesn't always work. But I am super excited to get into finally being able to and finally feeling comfortable enough to start integrating a lot more opaque mediums into my art. With these last final edits, that is my new banner, and it doesn't look like I did end up recording my edition of the illustrated bear icon, but obviously you guys can see him on my channel, and you can always click that icon to see a larger version of it. I ended up really enjoying the entire process of illustrating this piece and also creating a small icon that I feel like works well with the illustrated piece and as an icon on its own. So if you've made it this far into the video, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Maybe try and do some of those YouTubey things like comment, subscribe. If you don't know what to comment, go ahead and comment algorithm, because, you know, that's exactly what you're doing, is just helping my video get a little boost and hopefully reach more people and supporting my art journey in that way. And it's totally fine if you don't want to. I just hope that I'll be able to talk to you guys in the next one. Bye!